information shared on Girl Pray On It is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Although I am a licensed mental health counselor, I'm not your therapist. Unless, of course, you're one of my clients. In that case, I am your therapist, and I'll see you in our next session. Listening to this podcast does not create a therapeutic relationship between us. If you are experiencing emotional distress or a mental health crisis, please seek support from a licensed mental health provider in your area or contact a crisis line. Always pray on it, and also reach out when you need help.
But not to us. All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
How are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. How are you?
I'm doing great. Alhamdulillah.
Great.
I'm Aisha.
And I'm Rebecca.
And this is Girl Pray On It. Dishes or laundry?
Ooh, laundry.
Laundry? Why?
There's something peaceful about laundry.
Okay.
I don't know. It's like it comes out of the dryer and it smells good and it feels good. It's nice and warm. And then you kind of can check out as you fold the laundry. It's quiet. It's peaceful. Dishes are noisy. Dishes are dirty. All that.
Okay. Cleaning a toilet or taking out the trash?
Oof. I guess I would say I more often clean the toilet, but I think taking out the trash is definitely easier.
Okay. Long list of errands or deep clean the house?
Deep clean the house.
Okay.
Cook dinner for like 4 people that are coming over that you have to entertain, or scrub the floor of the bathroom for 2 hours.
Oh my God. Scrub the floor.
Really?
Yeah, I really hate cooking. Like, I cannot stand it. I actually don't mind baking, but cooking is a no.
Okay.
Okay.
Sew pants that have holes in them, or reorganize the spices in your kitchen.
Oh, I actually like both of those things, and I have done both of those things. But organize the spice drawer. I love organizing. If you could see the spice like cabinet in my house, it's like all labeled. I got like all these spice jars from Crate and Barrel and
Love
like these
that.
labels, and it looks beautiful. And I love when it's like organized and I can see everything. So yeah,
Okay, so you like organizing your closet too?
Yes, I do, and everything
Okay.
is organized by color.
Yes.
And like everything just looks organized and like good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are all the things that we women, well, really everybody should be doing around the house, right? These are things that come with everyday life, right? But when you are in a marriage, right, oftentimes who's left doing the mental load of figuring out when things are going to get done, how things are going to get done, and who's going to do them, right? It's often the women, it's often the wife who is stuck carrying this huge mental load of a laundry list of things that they have to get done around the house for their families, right? And so today's discussion is on the mental load and sharing that mental load between partners.
Yeah.
Okay, great. When you talk to your clients and you talk to them about sharing the mental load, what's your top advice?
Oh, well, I've said it before and I'll say it again. As a mental health counselor, my role is not to give advice. My role is to hold space and support and guide my clients to make the best decisions for themselves.
Right.
But certainly this is a complaint that comes up in a lot of my work that I do with clients. And I think, as you alluded to, more often than not, it's women in a heterosexual relationship complaining that they are carrying so much more of the mental load versus their husbands. And when we talk about mental load, what we mean is exactly, as you said, thinking about all the things that need to get done, how they're going to get done, foreseeing possible things that may come up. So typically we see that women have long lists in their head of things that have to do. Cook dinner. I got to go to work. When I get back from work, I got to stop at the grocery store, and then I have to think about what I'm going to make, and then I have to make sure that the laundry is done. And oftentimes we see that women have these like long piles in their mind of these lists carrying that sort of load, whereas their counterparts, their husbands are like totally checked out or not even thinking about that or not even aware about that.
Right.
And so I hear a lot of women complaining that they feel it's unfair fair
Yeah.
to be carrying so much of that mental load,
Yeah.
and that it doesn't feel like a partnership when they're the ones who are carrying it.
Yeah.
And so I, usually encourage, the person who's feeling that way to literally write down like every single thing that's on their mind or that whole entire list and, show that and express that to their partner. Because a lot of the time their partner like simply doesn't know because they've never thought about it.
Right.
And it's when things are like out there on paper, like you see it, I think it becomes a lot more like visible, a lot more tangible than when it like lives in your mind. And so then we start, talking about, okay, let's see what the mental load is. And then let's see like how we can sort of break that down so that it's not falling solely on one person. And it feels like there's more of a division of labor. There's more of a division of sort of, what's going on in their mind.
Yeah. Why do you think it is that men don't think about all of these things? Like, I mean, I know this is like, there's probably research on this, right? But what do you like at top of mind? Why do you think men just don't have that thing that women like, that we look around and we're like, that needs to get picked up.
Right.
This needs to get done. That needs to be washed.
Yeah. Well, what I hear a lot from men is that, their day-to-day basis, like their work, their job can be so stressful and they have to be on all the time in a work environment that as soon as they come home, the brain just like turns off. Now, all of a sudden they're in like relaxation mode. And the last thing that they want to do is chores around the house. 'Cause they've
What
just
a luxury.
they've just kind of spent like all day, working really hard. And now it feels like I'm stepping into my home. I can sort of turn off in a way. Whereas like women, I think are feeling like they're just always on. The brain is always on. The focus is always on. And the only time it's not, is a lot of times when like they're on vacation and they don't have to think about cleaning or cooking, so I think.
But even then, they're still planning.
Of course.
They're still like figuring out where are we going? How much is that going to be? Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
But it lessens the mental load.
Yeah.
You're not doing laundry, you're not doing dishes, you're not cooking, you're not cleaning. So it lessens the load. So I think that's a big part of it that I hear. I think that like a lot of men are kind of checked out when they come home because, maybe they've had a stressful day. But I also like think that maybe in a subconsciously for a lot of men, and obviously I don't want to speak for the entire male population. I can't do that, but I'm just speaking generally from what I've seen that maybe subconsciously men are thinking, well, it's not my job to do these things. My job is to go to work and be the breadwinner and bring home the money. And her job is to look after the home and cook and clean. And, that may be from some sort of cultural framework that they're operating from. But I think like there obviously is, even in America, still women are doing the majority of the housework, even in a partnership where it is a little bit more of an even split. I think that like, generations and generations of these sort of patriarchal beliefs that like men don't participate in household chores or responsibilities. I think there's maybe a subconscious feeling of like, men are just sort of like not attuned to those elements.
Yeah. You know what I think?
Yeah. What do you
think that men, unfortunately, I think, well, within the Muslim community, we have an issue of mothers not asking their sons to do more work in the household, right?
Yeah.
And that expectation of look around, what do you see, right? Because that's kind of baked into us as women, especially within the Muslim community of like, well, it's expected that you're going to be helping out around the house, right? You look around, what do you see? Okay, this is dirty, that needs to get picked up, right? And that's kind of trained into us. And that same level of training is not extended to the men in our communities, unfortunately.
Right.
And so I think that we as women actually have to take up the mantle of saying like, within my household, when I'm raising my daughters and sons, I'm actually going to expect both of them to contribute to the household equally. I'm going to expect both of them to learn how to clean, both
Yeah.
of them to learn how to do laundry,
Right.
cook,
Right.
right? Take care of themselves, right?
Yeah.
So that we don't have to create this cycle of men who don't know how to do anything, and also don't carry that like list, that checklist in the back of their head.
Yeah.
Because I mean, honestly, it's going to be up to us to, form and shape the new generation. So that's number one. And then number two, that was men being checked out when they come home was all fine and dandy in the 50s and the 60s when only the men were going to work. But now women are also going to work just as much as men. They have careers. They're working 8, 10, 12-hour shifts just like men. So that convenience of having a stay-at-home wife and a stay-at-home mom no longer is there. Therefore, men need to pick up the slack. I feel like women have, really catapulted in what we're able to do. We're able to be mothers, we're able to be wives, we're able to be, entrepreneurs and be in the work environment. But that same level of expectation around men culturally within our society has not also risen, right?
Yeah.
Because if we're going to have two people in the household who are working, then both need to be contributing equally.
You're absolutely right. And I think that's why this conversation is being had more than it was, a few decades ago, is that, now women are going out into the workforce, and even sometimes women are expected to go out into the workforce. We've sort of talked about how, it's not always feasible for a woman to stay home. Now, oftentimes, there is a need for dual income living in this very expensive country. And so now, in a lot of households, there is an expectation that a woman should work full time. And yet, like you had mentioned, there's not the expectation necessarily that a man should be contributing to the household in terms of the housework.
Right.
And like you said, that's a really unfair expectation. And we do need to sort of adopt our thinking in terms of like everyone is living in this house. Everyone should be an active participant in this house. And so I feel strongly that one of the things a lot of women also share is feeling like the house manager in terms of like the husband will ask the wife, what do you need help with? Like, how can I help?
That's weaponized incompetence.
Right. So
I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Help me, mommy.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I think it comes from a good place. I think that it is a man attempting or trying to participate and to help out around the house, but it still puts a lot of that mental load still on the woman to be the project manager and to be the person to say, okay, well, you have to do X, Y, and Z. Now she has to like literally think to herself, oh, okay, well, what can he do? Like,
right.
These are conversations that should be had ahead of time where, the husband just knows.
Yeah.
That maybe there is a conversation about the division of labor so that we're avoiding the husband going to the wife to ask, what should I be doing? How can I help?
Right.
And he just knows. And I think anyone who has kind of been in this position knows that you would so much rather someone just like kind of step in and do it versus
having to ask,
having to ask and having to think, okay, well, what can he do? Okay,
yeah,
like,
especially if you live here, right?
Yeah.
If you live here and you eat here, don't ask me what we need at the grocery store. You eat the food every day. Like, you should be taking notice of what things are running out, right? We keep a communal list of things that on the fridge of like things we need to get.
Yeah.
Write it down when you see that things are running out, right?
Yeah.
And these are things that are that should be really easy. So I mentioned weaponized incompetence before, but can you give us a formal definition of what that is?
Sure. So weaponized incompetence, I think, to like put it simply, is pretending to be bad at something so that you don't have to do it.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
So like, kind of making yourself like appear as though you don't really know what you're doing, or that, like to make her feel like, oh, it would just be easier if I did it myself, which
Right.
is what ends up happening a
Yeah.
lot of the
And
time.
the phrase of, well, you're so much better at it than I am,
Right.
right? Like, hate that.
Yeah.
Hate that so much.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
can you tell us a story about weaponizing confidence that you've encountered?
A great example is um I've heard a man like saying, I don't know how to load the dishwasher to get the dishes clean. So like you know how to put the dishes properly so that the dishes get clean. Like I don't know how to put the dishes in the dishwasher. And I feel like this is something that is so easy
Mhm.
that anyone could do.
But pause. No one actually knows how to properly load the dishwasher. We're all just trying out here. We're
Yeah,
all
that's
just
true.
trying and figuring it
That's true.
out.
Also,
Yeah.
everyone like for some reason has their own particular way of
Right,
like, wanting to load
exactly.
the dishwasher.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, just put the dishes in the dishwasher and turn the dishwasher on and call it a day.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter.
Right.
Whatever. Put the dishes in. So I think that's an example that like I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do want to point out that there's no right or wrong answer into how you as a couple decide to divide the labor in your household. We're
Mhm.
not making any sort of judgment about that.
I am.
But, well,
yeah.
I am not. Okay. I'm not making any judgment about how you decide to divide the labor in your household.
Mhm.
But I just think every couple needs to have a conversation about it and know what the expectations are.
Mhm.
And if one partner is unhappy with the setup, I think you need to have a conversation about how both partners can feel like they're both actively participating in the household and both partners to feel comfortable so that there's not a buildup of resentment over time.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. So I had a therapist once tell a client, well, this is a story that she told me, right? She told a client to just, when the husband was attempting to weaponize his incompetence, the therapist said to the wife, well, just stop doing things.
Okay.
Just if he's going to continue to do that, just stop doing things. Would you agree with this approach?
I mean, you could try anything, but like just be prepared. Like it might not get done.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't get done, there might be, frustration and anger that comes up. So like, I think like couples need to try things out and figure out what works for them. But I think like just not doing something, you have to be comfortable with like the idea that it might not get done.
It might not get done.
Yeah.
And then just
Yeah.
see what happens.
I've
my
heard of
gosh.
examples of like mommy goes on strike.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So like the mom or the wife is will sort of say like, I'm just not going to do anything at home anymore.
Mhm.
You all can figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm going on strike. And, that like comes from a place of like years and years of resentment building up of
Mhm.
having to be the sole person that does everything at home,
Mhm.
whether that's the cooking, the cleaning, whatever it might be. I think like women are getting to a point in their families where they're feeling really frustrated when everything falls on them and there's not a very clear division of labor, which
Mhm.
is why I encourage everyone to really have explicit conversations of what the division of labor is. And
Mhm.
especially if you have kids, talk about chores and have explicit conversations about how the chores are going to be divided up so that everyone knows what the expectations are of them in the house.
Yeah. Okay, so what about when we have these conversations around like the Muslim community,
Yeah.
talking about how much barakah there is in a wife being a housewife and taking care of the home? What do you say to couples who bring that up?
There's barakah in husbands helping around the house too.
Right. Yeah.
It's sunnah.
It's true.
It's sunnah. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam helped his wives around the house at home. It didn't always fall entirely on, his wives to do those things. So I would say like there's blessing for everyone who does it. And we have so many beautiful examples in, the time of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam of, Prophet's wife Khadija, radiallahu anha, who had her own business. And she had daughters with her husband, and he was an active father and an active participant in the household. So I would say it's sunnah for men to contribute to the household chores as well.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
What would you say to somebody who is in a situation where their husband is the main breadwinner and he like works full time, works a lot, and maybe she works part time, and the husband is not contributing at all to the house, not helping like clean up, just really kind of, as we had described before, comes home, checks out, and everything falls on her.
Yeah.
And she's like working too. And then when
Working full time or just part time?
she's working part time,
Okay.
he's working full time, and she asks him to help out a little bit more around the house, and he says, well, I make more money than you do, and I work more than you do. What would you tell someone in that situation?
Yeah, me personally, I would say, okay, that's fair. You are bringing in more money. Let's divide the household chores based upon what we are already bringing into the, like, financially, right? So if you're paying for 75% of the bills, I expect you to be doing 25% of the housework and vice versa, right? That's how I would do it. So it's equitable based on how much the other person is working, right? And I would also say, like, well, do you, like, are you not eating any of the food here? Are you not sleeping in any of the beds? Are you not, using the toilets, right? Like, we need to be thinking about, you live here full time, therefore you need to be contributing something, right? I personally would be okay with having an equitable split based upon the income / how much the husband is working and how much the wife is working, right? If she's part-time and she's only working, like, I don't know, 15, 20 hours, right, a week, and he's working 40 plus hours a week, then it should be comparable to how much each person's working. I think that's the most equitable thing, right? Now, would it be great if he could do 50-50, like you do 50% of the chores and I do 50% of the chores? Sure, right? But I'm happy to make it more equitable, and that's what I would tell someone. What about you?
Yeah. I think that sounds reasonable. I would, as I mentioned before, just encourage them to sit down and have a conversation about what the expectations are and how they can divide the labor in a way that feels fair and right to both of them. As you had alluded to, maybe it's the 25% on the husband and the 75% on the wife at home. But I think, like, no matter what, communication is key. Have the conversation, know what the expectations are.
Yeah. And I would also add, if he doesn't want to help, but he has that money to do so, hire someone, right? Like, if you have the space in your budget to have someone come like once every 2 weeks or once a month, and that'll help you out, and he's not willing to do that, but he's willing to fork over the money, like, sure, that's fine. That's fine with me. I'd be willing to do that as well. And that is also sunnah.
Yeah, I think one thing that I'm left with that you said that really resonated with me was just about how, like, we learn about expectations, we learn about roles within a household from our parents. These are modeled to us. What we see is kind of what we learn. I was really blessed and fortunate to grow up in a household where my dad was a very, like, equal contributor to the household in terms of household chores. He would do laundry, he would do, his best at trying to cook. I see how my brother is really an equal partner in his marriage like that. And if you want to instill these values in your children, you have to model it. But, as you said, like, having the same expectations for your boys as you do your girls, I think is really important. Everyone is an equal participant in this house. Everyone lives in this house. We all share in the responsibility, as a family. And that means, like, the expectations of your kids are the same across the board.
Yeah, 100%. And, I think that all parents should want their kids to become adults who are fully functioning adults, right? They are able to cook for themselves. They're able to clean for themselves, right? And you don't know if, like, it's not written for you to get married. So we should not have the expectation that somebody's wife is going to pick up the slack and like,
Mm.
cook for him and clean for him. You should expect, like, you should prepare your sons and your daughters for a life alone and
Mm.
prepare them to be able to do those things by themselves.
Yeah.
Inshallah, we all get married and we all find
Yeah.
our partners, right? But we need to know how to be on our own,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
These are just basic life skills.
exactly.
Everyone should know how to like just cook very basic things
Right,
to,
exactly.
sustain themselves. Everyone should know how to do their own laundry.
Exactly.
Like these are all basic things, even if like even before marriage, right? Maybe your kids are gonna go off, someday to college or
Right.
to grad school or
med
medical school, law
right.
school, and they are leaving the house and now they're on their own. Like
Yeah.
they need to know how to cook for themselves. They need to
Yeah.
know how to do their own laundry and know how to, properly clean a toilet.
Yeah. Yeah.
These things are life skills that every single person should have,
Yeah.
regardless.
Especially like when you don't want your kids going to college and being the person who burns ramen in the microwave or the person who completely breaks down the entire laundry room because they decided to put dish soap in the washing machine, okay? Or the people who just like they don't know what they're doing and you come over there and you're just like, what is going on here, right? Like that is so embarrassing for people to go to college and they don't know basic life skills like that,
Mhm.
right? So do your job, right? We're not even talking about marriage at this point.
Yeah.
Just make sure that your kids are prepared to live human lives.
As adults.
As
yeah.
adults. Exactly. Exactly. All right. So my last question for you has to do with the neurospices, okay? The ADHDs.
I never heard anyone call it that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm chronically online. I'm always on TikTok, so that's where I'm getting all the lingo from.
Okay, I love it.
Yeah, TikTok keeps me young. Like the Mean Girls. Oh, you girls keep me young.
Yes, I do.
That's TikTok.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's TikTok for
me.
you.
Yeah.
Love it.
So yeah, I mean, when it comes to the mental load and the mental capacity to keep track of all of these household chores and the division of labor, what are strategies that you would give to a couple where maybe there is one neurotypical person and then one neurospicy, maybe ADHD person who has chronic problems with, keeping, task at front of mind, right?
Mhm.
They have executive functioning issues.
Mhm.
How would you go about helping a couple with that mix?
Yeah, I've definitely worked with a lot of people who experience ADHD. I've worked with people on the autism spectrum. And so I will say it's very, very unique for each person and how they are able to manage tasks for themselves. But I've seen so many different strategies out there. I've seen people write on post-it notes for themselves and place those post-it notes around the house of reminders, making lists, writing on a whiteboard on the refrigerator. I think visual reminders seem to be quite useful. But I would say I think I think the person who has experiencing some executive dysfunction needs to create a system for themselves and, seek out help for that or seek out, whether it's therapy, so that they can, really kind of show up for their partner because I think, it can be difficult in a relationship when there is some clashes that are coming up because someone's experiencing executive dysfunction and they're not able to sort of fulfill the expectation that their partner has because whatever reason. I think it's really important to find strategies, find ways to manage those elements so that both partners are feeling like their needs are being met in the relationship. So definitely look at all the different strategies there are for being reminded about things. Maybe it's setting alarms on the phone, maybe it's writing notes, making lists. I think these are all strategies that I've seen be really useful for people.
Yeah, definitely. And what I'll say to that is before you even think about getting married, if you have a neurospicy brain, amazing, we celebrate you, but make sure that you have systems and strategies that work, that are tried and true, and that work for you before you get into a marriage, because trying to figure those out while getting into a marriage could be extremely difficult.
Mm.
So do that work, that inner work first before you enter into like a long-term relationship.
Yeah, and I think, it's really important to have conversations with your partner
Mhm.
about this because I think like for people who are neurotypical, it can be very difficult to understand the challenges that people who are neurodivergent are experiencing.
Mhm.
So I think, really having a conversation about, what is going on, what it feels like, what that experience is like is really important just for creating understanding, creating empathy. Like it all comes down to communication, doesn't it?
Yeah, right?
Have that conversation, have that
Right.
conversation in a therapy room and, talk about what it looks like for both of you. I think, both partners should have a really good understanding of one another,
Mhm.
how you see things, how you view things, how you manage the household chores and tasks. Like I am thinking back to camp.
Mhm.
We used to have like a chore wheel.
Oh my God. Jeez.
So like, there would be a wheel and every day someone was doing a different chore. Some households really thrive on that, but everyone needs to figure out what's going to work best for them. And that might look different in a house where someone is experiencing ADHD, for example.
Yeah, 100%. All right. All right. I think this is a good moment for us to move on to our listener letters. Yeah?
Let's do it.
Okay, great. If you have a question, a query, a wondering, or you just want to say hey, you can send an email to girlprayonitpod@gmail.com, and we might just read your listener letter on the podcast.
Yeah,
All
we
right,
just
great.
might.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. I wanted
Walaikum
some
salam.
advice about how to split up housework and other tasks because it's constantly leading to arguments. My husband and I had a love marriage about 10 months ago. We decided to move into his parents' house for a few years while we saved up to purchase a house down the road and move out. He works from home and I am currently not working. For now, he says that because he's contributing 100% to the finances, that means that I take on 99% of the housework with the exception of him taking out the trash and putting the clothes from the washer to the dryer and bringing them to me to fold. I'm also expected to cook and clean, but cooking is split with my mother-in-law and I, so it's not too bad. He does any outside tasks like filling up the gas, fixing the cars, yard work, etc. My only concern is how it will be after we move out. Anytime I even ask him for help with cooking and cleaning, he gets annoyed because he says that he doesn't ask for help to provide. I plan on getting a job soon, and he is happy with that, but told me that I have to prioritize my household duties, and if I can't handle both, then I have the freedom to quit. He says our household responsibilities will be a bit different when I start working, but for the most part, he wants to keep it exactly the same, meaning when we are both working, and I'm still doing the cooking and the cleaning. He also said that he would like for me to pay for the groceries when I start working. But I feel like if I'm contributing to paying for some of the bills, which I don't have a problem with, then he should be taking on more tasks, such as doing the dishes or vacuuming. Anytime we speak about this, it leads to a fight. And I'm tired of it for right now, so I've just let it go. But it still worries me often and even angers me. He grew up in a household where his mom and two sisters do everything, such as raising the kids and every other household responsibility while their husbands just provide. So he wants to repeat this. I came from a household with a stay-at-home mom and a working dad, but he still helps out from time to time, and my younger brother also helps out his wife a lot. What should I do? Is this fair, and am I overthinking it? Any advice? Also, I had actually contemplated divorce because of this, but is this just an extreme measure, right? Or would it be justifiable? I'm extremely happy with him otherwise, but this is just a big thing that just won't go away since we're both stubborn in that sense. And I think that he should be helping and he doesn't. He is very kind, sweet, and emotionally mature and never yells.
That was a big one.
That was a big one. And girl, it sounds like he does want help with the bills, right?
Mhm.
Because if you're contributing to groceries is a bill,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's a lot. That can actually add up quite quickly,
Mhm.
right? So, first of all, I think that that's not, if he's asking you to contribute to the groceries already, then he is not 100% financially contributing. Okay? And that's like, if anything, that could be like an 80-20 split right there, or maybe a 75-25 split. I don't know, right? But that was something that just jumped out at me. So that in and of itself is something you need to have a conversation about, because that is a bill. What were you
Hmm.
going to say?
Yeah. I think like something that's kind of jumping out to me about this message is the way she's framing it is a lot of like, he wants this, he's
Mhm.
saying this, he's
Mhm.
telling me I have to do this. It sounds as though the thing you're really frustrated about is maybe not having a voice in
Mhm.
this marriage where you feel like he is dictating how the labor should be divided. She did say that they're fighting about this, which is makes me think that she is kind of, expressing her feelings to him and they're having conversations about it, they're having
Mhm.
arguments about it. But the way that the words that she's using, it's making me feel I'm getting a sense that she feels he's trying to dictate how everything should
Mhm.
be split
Mhm.
and that he's insisting that this is the way things have to be.
Mhm.
And it sounds like he's modeling this after the framework that he grew up in, which was seeing his mom do, 100% of the household labor.
Right.
So it sounds like to me, is a product of the environment that he grew up in.
Mhm.
And maybe he even has a certain point of view that he should be the one to be making these decisions.
Mhm.
And maybe he has an expectation that you should go along with that. Maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into it, but I think that's sort of what I'm getting from this message. And so
Mhm.
I'm hearing that this person is feeling quite voiceless, quite powerless in her relationship.
Mhm.
And I think that is obviously a bigger issue.
Mhm.
And, that is perhaps the reason why maybe things are getting to a point where you've contemplated divorce. Because I
Mhm.
think, most people don't necessarily think that I'm going to get a divorce because he won't do the laundry or he won't,
Yeah.
do the cooking. I think it's, if divorce is something that you're thinking about, there's obviously bigger feelings that are coming up for you in this relationship
Mhm.
around feeling voiceless or powerless or
Yep.
feeling that it's a really heavy responsibility that's falling on you and that it,
Mhm.
it feels just too much. So I think that is one thing that is jumping out at me. And it just sounds like you're unhappy with this idea of having to take on all of the labor at home,
Yeah.
which is, absolutely fair,
Mhm.
absolutely valid. I
Mhm.
think this is what we've been talking about throughout the podcast. A lot of women are feeling resentful of
Mhm.
having that all of that fall on their shoulders, especially when they are going out in the workforce and that
Right.
still being something that's falling on their shoulders. I'm hearing just a lot of resentment coming up. I'm
Yeah.
like sensing that you feel quite powerless and frustrated and the same fight is happening over and over and over and over again. So I mean, girl, pray on it, but also maybe it's time to seek out some marriage counseling.
Yeah, I mean, definitely seek out marriage counseling. But to me, when I read the fact that if she goes to work, then she's going to need to contribute to the grocery bill, it's kind of like a punishment, right?
Mm.
Like, oh, if you want to go to work, that's fine, right? Then, but you're going to need to be able to keep up your household duties. And
Mm.
I expect to get a check from you for the groceries every month, right? Like, that's kind of what it's feeling like. Like, it's feeling a little punitive, that line.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can read it. The line where it says, I plan on getting a job soon, and he's happy with that, but told me that if I have to prioritize my household duties and I can't handle both, then I have the freedom to quit.
Mm.
The freedom to quit, okay. It sounds like, don't slack off, because I'm going to be here, making sure everything is dust free, right? I'm gonna make sure that everything looks good. Otherwise, you might need to quit, right? And focus
Yeah.
on what you're supposed to be doing. It feels kind of punitive, and
Yeah.
it feels like he's wanting to kind of control her of like,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't want to do your stay-at-home wife duties, then you're gonna need to contribute something to to
Yeah.
to the bills, right?
Mm.
And that feels weird. And even the part where at the beginning he says, I don't ask for help to provide, like, okay, that's weird that you bring that up. Like,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be asking for help,
Yeah.
right? Unless you're in dire circumstances, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I would definitely want to go to counseling and kind of figure out if there's resentment from both sides, because it feels like it's
Yes.
coming from both sides, and
Yeah.
it's feeling like this is punitive. This is
Mhm.
kind of like a punishment. If you decide to go to work, then you need to be doing XYZ,
Mhm.
right? And, figuring out from there if your priorities and values are aligned within the couples counseling,
Mhm.
because right now it doesn't sound like they're aligned.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
Totally.
and, I mean, it's better that you figure this out now than to move out, because I can only imagine that when you get your own place, right? Right now you're sharing it with your in-laws, and I don't know
Mhm.
how many people are there. I'm just going to assume that there's at least 2 other people, maybe more, in the household that you're sharing these duties with, right? But when you get your own house, it's going to be just the 2 of you,
Mhm.
and you're going to be expected to
Mhm.
do all of the housework, and that's way more than what you're doing now,
Right.
right? And
Mhm.
100% of the cooking right now, you're
Yeah.
sharing it with your mother-in-law,
Yeah.
right? So anything that you feel like is lying right beneath the surface is going to come out and be an even bigger problem once you guys are in your own space,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Especially when it's just the 2 of you.
Yeah.
So definitely try and figure this out now before you move out, because it's not going to get better. And unfortunately, I think it could get a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you brought up a really good point.
Yeah.
Figure this out before you move out for sure.
Yeah.
I think another thing that comes to mind is how transactional it feels.
Mhm.
And I think like I had this sort of in my mind as we were, speaking throughout the entire podcast of how it can feel so transactional when it's sort of like, okay, this is your responsibility. This is my responsibility.
Mhm.
You do this, do that. I'm going to go to work. You have to take care of all the household chores.
Mhm.
It's very transactional. We kind of lost the labor of love in there.
Mhm.
Whatever happened to like doing something for your partner because you love them and you want to
Mhm.
express care for them on both sides.
Right.
And so like, when I was in grad school, we talked a lot about there being the sort of unpaid care work that we
Mhm.
provide for our family members,
Mhm.
whether it be, a mother taking care of her children or taking care of an elderly parent. These are sort of like full-time jobs that are unpaid, but they are so much a labor of love. Wouldn't it be great if we could get paid for doing these things? But the reason I'm bringing this up is because I feel like these, especially in this listener letter, there's a way in which it feels so much like transactional. You do this, I do that. And I think we've lost a little bit of the love that, you know, I'm going to do this for you because I love you on both sides. Like, it would just be so wonderful if he could think to himself, like, I'm just going to kind of put your clothes away or fold your laundry because I love you and I want to, provide care for you. And she's also lost maybe a little bit of her feeling of like, I want to cook for you because I love you and it's an expression of love to provide you with sustenance. I think like I see this so commonly in a lot of relationships and a lot of the work I do with couples is that, when we get down to the nitty gritty sometimes of like, you do this, I do this, we've lost a little bit of the love and the care that it means to like be in a marriage. And I think one other piece that like I wanted to bring up is while having communication around this topic and continuing to figure out what those values are and how you can both feel comfortable, while those are very important elements, sometimes, not in all cases, but sometimes it is a little bit easier to just let it go a little bit. In terms of like, okay, he left his socks on the floor and you're really frustrated that the socks are on the floor. But like, is it worth getting in a really big fight about? Or is it
Yes.
easier to just pick up the socks and put them in the hamper?
No. I see. And you're coming from a very healthy, non-toxic mental health standpoint. Take an argument. Do it. Pick a fight. Because I can't do that. Like, I can't let things go. And I would rather hash it out in that moment and know that we have come to some sort of agreement, or we move forward in this like recurring problem, than to like just let it go.
hear
I don't
ya.
know, but maybe I'm unhealed, right? So I just
Well,
can't let it go.
if
Yeah.
that's the case,
Yeah.
obviously, there needs to be a conversation around that.
Yeah.
But obviously, like, if you have gotten to a point in the marriage where you're screaming at each other because there's socks on the floor,
Right.
there was a misstep at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
There was not clear communication. There wasn't like a kindness around like, hey, would you mind please picking your socks up off the floor? It really frustrates me when clothes accumulate on the floor rather than just putting them in the hamper.
Yeah.
Like something happens to get to this point where
Yeah.
like now we're angry and we're
Yeah.
yelling at each other because there's socks on the floor.
Yeah.
Which like it happens. I
Yeah.
see it. It happens. So it's like, two things can happen there. It's like, okay, what would it be like to just let it go and just pick up the socks yourself and put them away? Or what would it be like to kindly ask, would you mind please picking up your socks off the floor?
Yeah. And like, I don't have a problem with kindly asking. For me, the problem is where I've asked you maybe 3 or 4 times now
Mhm.
and you've completely ignored me.
Yes.
I'm not letting it go.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm not letting it go because what that tells me is that you don't actually, respect me, maybe respect my time, respect my labor. I'm invisible to you, right? Like my needs are invisible to you.
Mhm.
And that is where I cannot abide. I can't let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to couples therapy.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm not telling, listen, don't listen to me. Listen to the therapist, okay?
Yes.
But as an unhealed person, I'm telling you to pick a fight, okay? Don't let it go. Get in there.
Yeah. She's choosing violence.
Yeah, I am choosing violence because, like, what do you mean you can't pick up these socks and I've asked you 3 times, so you don't respect me? That's what that means. You don't see my labor as being valuable,
Yeah.
right?
No, I get it. If it's gotten
Yeah.
to that point, but I be gracious with one another.
Yeah.
Give each other some grace. If you said it one time, maybe they forgot. Give them another chance
Yeah.
to figure it out.
Yeah.
Have grace with one another. But I think like don't let the socks be the thing that ends your marriage. That's
But socks have ended marriages, though.
they have, yeah,
For
they
good
have.
reason.
They have.
For good reason. I mean, like,
Because there was a misstep.
yes, because
Somewhere
yes,
there
right.
was not like something went wrong there.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yes,
The
that is
socks,
true.
The socks were the straw.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay. Anything else you want to add to this listener letter?
I feel good about it.
Okay, great. Well, if you have a problem or a question, you want to get a therapist point of view and me point of view, go ahead and send us an email to gopronitpod@gmail.com.
Sounds good.
Great. All right. Now is the part of the podcast where I, Aisha, look at the camera and I rant about something that is bothering me that day, that week, that month, whatever. And today's topic is boy moms. Whoa, child.
Okay.
Oh my God.
What about them?
What about them? But I don't know. Where do we start? Let's talk about emotionally incestuous,
Okay.
like relationships between a mom and their son. Like, it's really weird. I see it all over TikTok. Like, moms who, it's gross. Okay. Moms who, like, pose with their sons for prom pictures and, like, homecoming pictures. Weird. Moms who, like, put on, like, all this expectation, this emotional expectation on their sons to be, like, their partners. Weird. Boy moms who are like, I love you more than anything. I never knew love until you came into my life. Like, that stuff is weird. And you guys contribute to these women who end up marrying or getting into relationships with your sons. And they are not fully formed humans because you have done something to them in their brain. And now they can't function without mommy. And it's really, really weird. Do you have experience with boy moms?
Yes.
Okay, tell us.
Well, I think it's across cultures, as you mentioned. Like, I've also seen on TikTok, like,
Yeah.
moms who, I've specifically seen a lot of videos where moms will spoil the gender reveal of their
Oh, yeah.
children's like announcement.
Their sons.
Yeah, so their son and the son's wife
Yeah.
are doing like a gender reveal
Mhm.
for their baby, and the, soon to be grandma will like rush in and like hug her son and just
So
like sort
weird.
of ruin the moment between the couple.
Yeah.
So like yeah, I think it's like definitely it can happen across cultures because
Yeah.
we see it in American culture.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like I've I've certainly seen it, and I do sort of feel like it can come from a mom not having the emotional support that she needs from her husband.
Yeah.
So she starts to rely on emotional support from her son.
Which is weird and incestuous, and it needs to stop, right? And what that ends up being is like a mom who's like, no one's good enough for my son. My son, he's my prince. He's the light of my world. I'm like, your son has ruined someone's life, right? Your son is out there being a menace to society, particularly women, and is jumping from place to place and just really like it's just a dumpster fire. No matter where he goes, you can see a trail of tears following him. Okay, because he didn't get any type of emotional rearing that a parent is supposed to do, right? And instead, you had some sort of weird, like pseudo husband relationship with your own son, and now we women have to figure it out. We have to like figure out what's wrong with your son, and it's tiring.
Yeah. What
It's
do you
very
think is
tiring.
the cure to these emotionally stunted men?
Therapy. Therapy is the cure, right? But like no, really doing a lot of intense like work and boundary setting. Set boundaries with your mother and be very clear. I am not your husband. I am your son. This is my wife or this is my partner, right? So boundary setting is extremely important, and learning how to do that in a therapist room. Don't just do it on your own. Do it in a therapy room. Okay? Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I agree. What is the weirdest thing that you've seen on TikTok?
Oh, on TikTok?
Yeah.
God, like, oh, what a cesspool. I've seen everything. Oh my gosh. The weirdest thing is like, actually it's not on TikTok, it's the captions on Instagram, where you will see grown women dressing their sons up like grown adults, right? Like, this is a baby, like this is like a toddler. They can barely form sentences, right? And they have them fully dressed. I mean, like, whatever, dress up your kid however you want. It's your money, do what you want. But then the caption says, like, to the love of my life, my son. I never knew what it meant to be loved by a man. First of all, not a man, a boy, a toddler, okay? And like the captions are just so cringy, and you're just like, are you okay? Well, clearly you're not okay, right? And I was like, someone needs to step in, and you need to seek therapy. You need to seek therapy. I don't know, like having a strong male figure in the life. I don't know, like just seek therapy. I mean, like this is you'll notice that all men should seek therapy, but especially boy moms and their sons need to seek therapy a lot. Anything to add?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I feel like from what I see is when the son is in it, they don't see it and they become quite defensive
Yeah,
around
yeah,
their mom.
yeah.
So
You're like,
that's a
that's
hard
my
one.
mom. That's
Yeah.
my mom. I'm never gonna abandon her. I love her.
That's
She was the first person to love me.
yeah.
Run far away. You can't help those men. Run away. Have you heard that TikTok sound where it's like, run away?
No,
Run
I haven't
away.
heard that one.
Yeah. Well, I'll show it to you. But yeah, if you find a man like that and they're like, nobody just like crazy stuff that they'll say about their moms, and it's like, it's time to go. It's time to go. Like, we all joke, like a mama's boy though is different than a boy mom and her son.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
that is the thing because it could go really either way. It could be
Yeah.
like a total red flag or a total green flag. I think in
Mhm.
cases where it's a green flag is that he treats his mother so well,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he, respects her, he cares for her, he calls her, he checks in with her.
Yeah.
That's a green flag. Love
Yeah.
that for you.
Yeah.
If he is loving on his mom, like
Yeah.
he's gonna treat you well.
Right.
I think when it goes into a new territory is
Mhm.
probably when there's just like a lot of really unrealistic, unfair expectations being placed on the son.
Yeah.
There's like an enmeshment that's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Right. Or when he says like, I mean, like I get it. Everybody's all the men are like, no one can cook like my mom, right? But like the men who are like, I'm gonna measure you by how my mom does things. Weird.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
weird. Very
Yeah.
cringy.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully you're not marrying your mom. You're marrying a new, different woman
Mhm.
that is a separate person.
Oh, you are in hot water if you are in a relationship with a man and then you show up and you meet his mom and you two look like copies of each other 20 years apart, 40 years apart.
I think Freud would have something to say about it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But if he's going after people who look like his mom, that's weird. That's very weird, right? Or if he says, "Oh, you remind me of my mom." Ooh, run away.
We're creatures of habit. We're creatures of familiarity.
Not that familiarity. I'm sorry. I'm not to be having sex with their mom.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I said it. That's weird.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Why are you waiting?
I'm very disturbed by that idea, okay?
We're creatures of familiarity. You said it.
Yes, I think it's very like common that people end up choosing partners that there's some similarity or overlap in personality to one of their parents.
I mean, the personality piece, maybe I give it
Yeah.
a little bit more, but if you look like your mom,
That's weird.
that is weird.
Yeah.
That's very weird.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Okay, great. I think that's it for this episode.
Yeah, we kind of zigzagged in different directions,
I mean, we talked. Yeah, I mean, we talked about men.
This is a big one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Seek therapy. Any lasting words?
Girl, pray on it.
Girl, pray on it. All right,
Yeah.
bye. Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam. We'll catch you on the next one, inshallah.
Thank you for tuning in to the Girl Pray On It podcast. We hope today's conversation gave you something to reflect on. Be sure to follow us on both Instagram and TikTok at Girl Pray On It Pod. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, Girl Pray On It Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen, so you'll always be up to date with our newest episodes. Stay connected, stay encouraged, and as always, girl, pray on it.